Hey, what's up, Thrift Fam? Welcome to another episode of the Thrift Store Prepper. And hopefully, in this episode, I've got the hands centralized. And the reason I mention this is because, for some reason, some of you are finding the hands interesting, appealing, or someone even said my shtick. So I'm kind of glad you like the hands, and some people have even suggested I should be called Prepper Hands. So if you wish to use that as an affectionate nickname, then go right ahead. You can call the thrift store Prepper Hands in your mind if you so wish. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today is a little prepper tip and as to why I took the items that are in front of you out of my pantry. Now, many of you probably have watched a prepper video or two in your time on YouTube, and you're watching one right now, although I am an unconventional shit prepper in the eyes of the yuppie, white-collar pretender preppers. So, many of the channels that you will watch will tell you that these items are the things you need to be starting off in buying in bulk. Well, I'm going to tell you maybe not to buy these items in bulk and as to why, but let's look at your reasons as to prepping first. Now, in one instance, let's say you're just somebody who's putting a little bit of a pantry together for a rainy day or an emergency. You've had an accident, lost your job, sickness, something, that's preventing you from earning a living. And if you've got your little emergency pantry and you're going to have some electric and your kitchen's still going to be working, you're not going to get the power cut off, then these items are great. They're good, as long as you've got the ways and means to cook them in a modern society, in a modern functioning kitchen, then by all means put as many of these things in your pantry. But if you're one of those doomsday shit hitting the fan type preppers that is looking for long-term sustainability, then really these things aren't the best things to have. Although they are very low cost and they do have a long shelf life, many of the prepping channels will tell you to purchase Mylar bags and storage containers in order to prolong the life or the shelf life that little longer. Now, this is all added cost to your inexpensive items, which has now made them cost a little bit more because Mylar bags and storage tubs are things that maybe not that inexpensive, but they are added cost if you're trying to do this on a budget, and you're, living paycheck to paycheck and trying to put a little bit aside. Then, Mylar bags and storage tubs might be things that are luxury items, and unless you can maybe find them for free, then, you're going to have to be paying for them. But what none of these people who tell you to buy these things is the amount of water that you are going to need in order to cook them. And certainly if you are in a grid down type situation, there's no power and you don't got yourself a generator or propane or solar panels or some way of providing a source of heat or a sustainable source of heat, and you're relying on maybe a wooden fire or a log fire, in a pot on an open flame, then these items are going to be extremely difficult to cook. Now, for example, on these dried beans, I'm trying not to rustle too much, but maybe that's helping with the unintentional ASMR. Let me look. The cook time here says 30 to 45 minutes. Bring to the boil, reduce heat, cover and simmer for 30 to 45 minutes. So you've already got to bring it to the boil and then simmer further. So maybe around an hour total in a kitchen if you have a fully functioning stove and pots and pans. But if you're bugging out, or if you're in a, as I've mentioned, a power out situation, This cook time is going to take a lot longer, and believe you me, you cannot sustain a heat on an open flame as well as you can regulate it on your stove. So bringing things to the boil and keeping stuff simmer is going to be difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is going to take a long time. And on top of that, you've got to cover your beans with 2 inches of water. So to cook this entire bag, you're going to need quite a lot of water. Well, maybe not that much, but you're going to need a certain amount of water. Now, rice, on the other hand, you need a shitload of water to cook a rice. So, for example, I do have my cup here, which does have a little bit of water. And for 1 cup of rice, you're going to need 2 cups of water. So if, for example, you have 1 5-gallon tub of long-term stored rice in a mylar bag, you're going to need 2 gallons of water in order to be able to cook this. Otherwise it is useless. We can't eat it. And again, let me see if it has the stovetop cooking time, and they're saying simmer for 10 to 12 minutes and let stand for 5 minutes, and there's a microwave method also. But if anybody has cooked rice, they will know it's actually not something that's very easy to cook at the best of times. And I happen to be a cook and a chef, if you like. Worked in many kitchens over the last 7 or 8 years, and I've known professional cooks that make a mess of cooking rice. It is one of those kind of things that there is a little bit of a science to it. Misjudge it, miscalculate it, you mess your rice up. So these are reasons I've taken my rice, my beans, and my pasta out, because you need to boil them, you need the water to boil them, you need the resources and the heat and such forth to boil them, and you may not have them in a shit hitting the van situation. And if you are in a prolonged survival situation, maybe you're lucky enough to have a doomsday bunker, then you are going to be having a limited water supply. So in order to be able to cook these things, you're going to have to maybe double or triple what water you have alongside your drinking supply. And this is why Mr. Noodles and ramen should be the friend and your item of choice. It's cheap. For the same amount of rice, you can get pretty much the same amount of ramen, give or take a gram or 2. And ramen, in terms of nutrients, will win over the same size serving of rice. And you can eat it right out of the bag. And if you watch all of my no-cook recipes, you can cook it in a bag, unlike these things that you need pots and pans. So ramen wins over all of these things, and why I tend to use mostly cans or things that use a very limited amount of water within my emergency, mindset. So if I am relying on my pantry in a shit hitting the fan situation or a grid down situation, then everything I have is pretty fail safe and isn't going to require too much cooking. In fact, no cooking at all. I can eat pretty much everything I have in my pantry raw, with the exception of some oatmeals and stuff, which just take a little bit of hydrating in a bag if you watch my videos. So these are the reasons I'm telling you I took these items out of my pantry. Whether or not these are the reasons you choose to take them out of your pantry or not, that's entirely up to you. This is just a little suggestion, a little tip, and something that I've never heard or seen any other prepper channels that I have watched tell you about the water content required to cook all these things, and the fact that stuff like rice is pretty difficult to cook. So that's about it. I'm not going to babble and bore you any further. As I said, I hope the hands are centralized more for you, and there's a couple of little bugs flying around, as you can see. So thanks for watching, Thrift Fam. Keep it thrifty. This has been a shit video production for the Thrift Store Prepper. Catch you next time.